Hi, everyone. Welcome to Hackmakers ideation session. My name is Jack, and I'll be running this session. So, first of all, let me share my screen. So, during this session, what we'll be doing is we'll be going over a few things about the workshop. Sorry, about the hackathon, some of the challenges that we'll be having, and then after that, uh, we'll have. I'll briefly go over what's involved in ideation and what are some of the things that you need to think about and prepare for the hackathon before it starts this Friday. So this is a bit about me, and you can also feel free to add me on LinkedIn if you like. First, themes and challenges. So with this hackathon, there will be 3 key challenges. And let me just exit out of this slide so I can show you the page. So if you go to World Innovation Day Hackathon, there will be 3 challenges. And you can, if you go online, you can see this. The first challenge is Tech for Good. The second one is Blockchain for Good. And the third one is NFT for Good. Now, these are themes, and what will happen is when on the start of the hackathon, we'll release a more detailed description of the challenge information so that to ensure everyone starts at the same time. For the first challenge, Tech for Good, what it'll be talking about is it's a challenge about open data, partnerships, and bridging and dividing between public and private organizations. So from this, what it is it's going to be quite broad, and so hence this is where our ideation mind would come into play. And most likely it's going to be some things about data, and maybe it's going to be a few things about how do you connect different organizations together for good. I'll go into more about this later on. In the website, what you can see in the challenge one webpage is some things about Oracle, which you can make use of in the hackathon Oracle Cloud and actually get some ideas. You can actually do some preparation beforehand, so you know how to use some of the infrastructure and capabilities for, say, for example, data crunching before the hackathon. The second challenge will be on blockchains. So this challenge is about generating an innovative and for good solution centered around transparency, decentralization, and security. Pretty much the fundamental key building blocks of what blockchain is built on. And so from this, you would know that it's going to be, you would have to build a blockchain solution, and on something that we would see bring a big benefit to the society. I'll briefly go over the judging criteria a bit later on, which would also help direct you on what to do and what are some of the things to think for before the full challenge details get published on Friday. So within challenge 2, we also talked about 2 major cryptocurrencies, of which we may most likely have bonus points and bonus challenges for. So if you're comfortable with a lot of different blockchains, then maybe it might be a good idea to have a read up about these 2. So the first one is Polygon. And what I'll do is I'll give a brief intro of both. So Polygon is previously known as Matic, and it is a scaling solution for public blockchains. really going off the Ethereum blockchain, and it's a tooling to actually make faster and cheaper transactions. If you're an Ethereum developer, uh, you're already a Polygon developer, because most of the things is actually would be the same as Ethereum. And if you want to get started on Polygon, what I would recommend is you can go to this link here for Polygon developer documentation, and and down below there's a quick start guide, which you can look at how to build a Polygon app. The next cryptocurrency is IPFS Filecoin. These two actually go together because IPFS is the distributed system for peer-to-peer storage and accessing of file content. So, in a nutshell, if you wanted to understand it, the current internet is built off addresses. So if you want to say go to Google, you would then first find the IP address of the computer or the server that serves the Google web page. And then you go to that particular server and the server serves you information. Whereas IPFS is focused on peer-to-peer systems. So instead of storing IP addresses and locations to go to a server, each different computer would actually store hashes and data that people can access right away. So instead of, say, in this case of going to Google to access the Google web page, different IP addresses, different computers that you hit along the way may actually contain a copy of this Google homepage in which you can access. So hence really serving the content not just from one server, but multiple servers in case if the central server is down. So this is IPFS in a very quick nutshell. I'm sure there's also a whole heap of links that you can go to understand this in a bit more detail. And Filecoin, what Filecoin does is it enables this particular system, and it provides the storage space necessary, so people can put their hard drives on the internet and say as a miner, and their storage then goes to be used by other people. You can find out more about this, say for example on the YouTube, and if you go to their website, there's also some how-tos on this. So these are the two major blockchain that we would cover in challenge 2 that we could potentially have bonus challenges on. Other than that, you feel free to use any other blockchain that you're comfortable with. The final one is challenge 3, NFT for good. So for those that are not familiar, NFT is it stands for non-fungible token, and what it is in a sense you can call it internet art or crypto art, where an artist might produce something which becomes one of a kind, and hence no one can actually fudge it, like the Mona Lisa art. People can try and copy it to the best of their ability, but still it's not the same Mona Lisa art, of the same original Mona Lisa art. So that's what NFT is. It's also expanded now to encompass having a community around it and such and such. So the challenge is fairly simple as well. So you come up with an idea, a public utility for an NFT, something that does a social good. For example, I remember there was an NFT to do with promoting women, right? Like World of Women. So something that it stands for, and after that, maybe come up with a picture, and you can upload it to any of these places. Say, for example, if it's based on the Ethereum or Polygon blockchain, you can go on to OpenSea. As you can see, discover, collect, sell extraordinary NFTs. And or if it's Solana, you can go to Magic Eden, and there will be pretty comprehensive slides where, or YouTube videos, which actually gives you a
Clavio, there's a new way to grow.
gives you a good intro onto how to create an NFT and how to upload it. So in this case, it's only a 5-minute video, and this person walks you through how to create a OpenSea account, how to upload a photo, some descriptions, such and such. So that's all the DREE challenges we have. Before I continue on to ideation, I just wanted to get an idea of a show of hands of any questions there may be. Right. So, okay. Milkali asks about the first challenge. So let me go into here again. Cool. So the first challenge is tech for good. So you can also go into the World Innovation Day website and click on resources and challenge resources. So Tech for Good is a challenge about open data partnership, bridging the divide between public and private organizations. So it'll be something about data. It'll be something about, say, for example, government and also private organizations. How do we use data better? How can these different organizations collaborate to do things or make the world a better place? So that's about challenge one. Cool. And more details of this would obviously be released on the hackathon on this Friday when the hackathon starts. What I'll do briefly is also go into some of the other sections of the site. So in resources, there's also this section called Hackathon Resources. If you click on Hackathon Resources, you can see templates, guides, and you can navigate to the guides for participants and teams and the Hackathon Judges Guide. So this is a quite good reference in terms of how we assess the different prizes, the different solutions, right? So I suggest you guys to have a read of these, if not already, especially the first slide 4 and slide 5, and slide 6 actually, where it talks about how the scorings will be given in terms of, say, the impact, the value, commercialization, is it original, the quality, design, consistency, and challenge and statements. So that is recommended, and that's on the site under Hackathon Resources, guides for participants. All right, let me go back to the ideation section. So now what I'll do is I'll start talking about some of the things to prepare for before the hackathon. One thing is start off with how I think of hackathons is it's a start of a startup to a certain extent. And you can see here, there's a number of interesting startups that actually spun off from a hackathon. Normally you have a problem and solution, opportunity to build something useful, and finally, you want to make the world a better place. So in terms of ideation, why is it very important? Because ideation is the start of a hackathon, right? So it's the first thing that happens in a hackathon, and it defines the problem, and also to a certain and to and a bunch of different solutions that we could potentially do. You want to give the team direction as early as possible. I've had a few cases in hackathons where um, our team started and we're still discussing what problem solution to do on the second day of the hackathon. Towards the end of the first day and the second day, early second day of the hackathon, which is definitely not something that I would suggest, because that leaves very little time to actually build what is important, to build out the solution. So you want to get this done as earlier if as possible, and focus then the extra time on building and also finally doing the presentation and pitching of the hackathon. And it's also one of the elements that contributes to winning. What judges look for in an idea. So in addition to the judges guide that I showed you, I wanted to zone in particular in terms of what are some things that you want to think about when coming up with the idea, and what are some of the things judges look for in the problem solution you present to them. So first is related to the hackathon theme, right? Like if it's not related, it could be the best idea, but it doesn't answer the question. Have a good understanding of who faces the problem and how big the problem is. If it's only one person in the world that faces the problem, then even if the problem is really good, the impact space is not that big. But if it's say 1 million, 10 million people that faces it, and even if it's not a really good, not the best solution, but the impact would be great. A lot of people forget this to validate an assumption. Is it really a problem, or is it just a problem that we made up in our mind? The solution has to be something that actually solves the problem. A lot of people come up with the solution, then they try and come up with a problem that sort of fits with the solution. And there can be n number of problems that fits with the solution. So it's too generic. We actually want to have a solution that is specifically targeted at the problem. Is it feasible, right? How much does it cost to build? How much resource does it make? Is it something that people can build? Competition, are there similar solutions? And what is the unique factor? So moving on to the process. And these are some things that you could potentially look at and start thinking about before the start of the hackathon. So the first one is getting to know your team and defining the passion. Right. So as I've mentioned before, there's three different challenges. Which challenge do you want to focus on? Which challenge are you interested in? Do you and also which one do you have more of a background understanding in? Right. So if you're super good with NFTs, and obviously then you want to do NFTs. If you don't know much about, say, Polygon, then maybe if you want to do it, then make sure you read up on it. So, and also understand what your team wants to do, because you'll be working closely with your team, and all of those things has to be aligned. If you have certain team members that's not interested in doing certain things, or they don't understand, then they're not, most likely they're not going to be as participative in the hackathon, and when you need them the most. So find out what their reasons for joining is. What are some of their strengths? Where their interests lie? And if you want to get a head start, I'm sure you can start talking to people now. Go into Discord, try and find team members who may be interested in potentially the same problem space as you are, and form that team early so that you guys can get a head start. So understand the team and passion. After that, what I'm going to take you through is a well-known procedure in UI UX, which is design thinking. So the first step of it is actually trying to understand in non-judgmental form and non-biased form, what is actually the hackathon challenge? As I mentioned before, the problem solution has to be has to be related to the challenge. So um, if, for example, you're targeting something to do with blockchains and you ended up coming up with a solution that has nothing to do with blockchains, then obviously that is great, but it doesn't actually tackle the challenge. Maybe it might have been better for challenge one. So understand what the challenge is. Do as much reading and preparation as you can. Um, some of the materials that we've provided here and what I'm going through right now. Understand the big picture, right? So um, um, the ins and outs of the space, right? So if you're interested in NFT, then I think it makes sense to go into say OpenSea, right, and have a look at what are some of the NFTs here, understand how it works, and maybe some of the NFT communities. Um, Research the problem would also be great as well. After after the understanding, you would want to select the problem. So you understand the bigger space. Second step is there's a lot of problems or a lot of challenges in this bigger space. Which one do you want to tackle right away? Um, so, say for example, in the simple case of um, the first day of a university student, right? So that may be the area, and then after that, there's multiple different challenges. Maybe they have difficulty finding their class. Maybe they have difficulty um, finding a mentor. Maybe they have some challenges understanding the course material. There are different challenges, and you need to select which one of those challenges do you want to focus on. This is where persona helps. Um, is it are you actually looking at it from the space of, say, for example, a student or a teacher? Try and step into their shoes, understand what are some of their key points, and actually validate if it really is a problem or not. Maybe no one has a problem in terms of getting to classes because everyone has Google Maps and it tells them where to go, for example. Um, After you've understood and defined the problem, understood the area and defined the problem, you want to go into this concept of diverging and converging on a solution. And what it is there can be n number of solutions to this problem, um, from the most craziest ones um, to the simplest ones. So, um, say for example, one way to get rid of, say, rubbish, right, is to send all the rubbish into space, which it's not a good idea, but it is very not feasible. But it's still a solution, nevertheless. And you want to write down as many of those solutions as possible. This is where you want to think broad, without limits. And after you've diverged diverged on the problem, you want to converge. So use some of your knowledge and common sense to really cross out things that is not feasible or things that's just um, not a good idea. And this is where you can then start to zone in on some potentially really good solutions for the problem. Um, Certain things I like to use is, say, for example, Lean Startup Machine Validation Board to validate your idea. Miro is also a good tool for brainstorming, online brainstorming with your team. For those that haven't used it, you can just create an account, and it's free for the initial so many boards. Lean Canvas is also another one that you can search on. So lesson learned and sharing. I originally intended this for everyone to share. But being YouTube, I think maybe I'll have a separate session during the hackathon where it's more a two-way session where we can just share and just discuss amongst ourselves some of the lesson learned around ideation and coming up with a problem solution, as well as maybe certain challenges or questions around the around the hackathon challenges. Some key takeaways that you want to look at is know your team, understand the challenge, define the problem, diverge, converge. So all those things I've mentioned before. A few got yous. Validation is key. Make sure it's not a problem in your head, but it's actually an actual real problem that you're tackling, and also preparation beforehand. So preparation beforehand would be all of the things that I mentioned before. Deciding which challenge that you're more likely to do. Really reading up on some of these. So if you want to do, say, a blockchain challenge on Polygon, highly recommended. Go to the developer documentation and look at their tutorial on and play with it for a bit. If you want to do NFT, go on to OpenSea, Magic Eden, create an account and follow the 5-minute video. Create an account and see if you can upload your own little mini picture and how that works. That is all I have. Let me go back and see if there's any questions. Okay, so I'm working on tool Unity 3D. How can I work on NFT on this tool? That's a really good question, Sofian. So from what I understand, OpenSea would allow uploads of images, say music files and such. They do have a file size limit. I think it was 100 meg. I'm not sure if Unity 3D is able to convert whatever you want into maybe a animated image or something. So I would suggest definitely look at it and also look at, say, for example, OpenSea or Magic Eden if you want to use Solana to see if they support this. If not, I'm sure Unity 3D you can come up with a static image that you can then upload for the NFT. Just a note on the NFT is for the NFT, there's a few things that is assessed. So one is maybe is the picture, right? So the picture is part of it, but then also on top of the picture would be things like what does it stand for? What are some things that that the NFT stand for? What is its purpose? And how do you build a community? How do you make it big? And what are some of its benefits? There are other things that you could potentially think about to make your NFT stand out more than others. Love ideation and thinking. All cool. Is there any other questions? From what I understand, for Jivan, who owns the idea? From what I understand, it's you that owns the idea. So, for example, if you did an NFT that is greatly successful, then obviously it'll be yours, right? Yeah, Jensen, feel free to correct me otherwise. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay, great. Thank you very much, and have a great hackathon. I'll be creating a few more sessions, more sort of two-way sessions during the hackathon. So keep an eye out for that, and see you then.